Europe is in a fight. This must be Europe's independence moment, a new Europe.
The political landscape of European Union is shifting in ways that feel both familiar and unusually volatile at the same time. Across the continent, voters are sending mixed signals, governments are recalibrating priorities, and leaders are trying to balance internal pressures with growing external challenges. What makes this moment different is not just one election or one policy decision, but the convergence of economic strain, security concerns, and political fragmentation happening all at once. At the center of this evolving dynamic is the leadership of Ursula von der Leyen, who continues to push for a stronger, more unified Europe, while facing increasing resistance from both the political left and right. Her administration has emphasized strategic autonomy, particularly in energy and defense, but that vision is being tested by domestic politics in key member states. Governments are under pressure from voters who are dealing with high living costs, inflation fatigue, and uncertainty about the future. One of the most visible trends shaping EU politics right now is the rise of right-leaning and nationalist parties across several countries. From France to Germany and beyond, these parties are gaining traction by tapping into concerns about migration, national identity, and economic inequality. In France, Marine Le Pen has continued to build momentum, positioning herself as a serious contender in future elections by softening her rhetoric while maintaining strong nationalist themes. Meanwhile, in Germany, the growing support for Alternative for Germany reflects a broader dissatisfaction with traditional parties and coalition politics. This shift is creating a more fragmented political environment at the EU level. Coalition building is becoming more complex, and consensus, once a defining feature of EU governance, is harder to achieve. Policies that require unified agreement, such as migration reform or climate targets, are facing delays and compromises that dilute their original ambition. Leaders are finding that what works politically at home often clashes with the collective goals of the Union. Migration remains one of the most contentious issues driving political debate. The EU has been working on reforms to its asylum system, aiming to distribute responsibility more evenly among member states. However, countries on the front lines, such as Italy and Greece, continue to argue that they are carrying a disproportionate burden. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has taken a particularly firm stance, advocating for stricter border controls and external processing centres. Her approach has resonated with voters domestically, but has also intensified disagreements within the EU. At the same time, the war in Ukraine continues to shape European politics in profound ways. The EU has maintained strong support for Kyiv, both financially and militarily, but the long-term sustainability of that support is becoming a topic of debate. Countries closer to Russia's sphere of influence are pushing for continued firmness, while others are beginning to question the economic cost of prolonged involvement. The conflict has also accelerated discussions around European defense integration, with renewed interest in building a more independent military capability. Energy policy is another area where geopolitics and domestic concerns are colliding. After reducing dependence on Russian gas, EU countries have been investing heavily in renewable energy and alternative suppliers. While this transition has strengthened energy security in the long term, it has also contributed to short-term price volatility. Governments are under pressure to protect consumers while still meeting ambitious climate targets set under the European Green Deal. This balancing act is proving difficult, especially as industries warn about competitiveness and potential job losses. Economic challenges are adding another layer of complexity. Growth across the Eurozone has been uneven, and some countries are struggling more than others. Debates over fiscal rules and spending limits have resurfaced, with disagreements about how much flexibility governments should have in managing their budgets. Countries like Spain and Portugal are advocating for more leniency to support growth, while more fiscally conservative nations are pushing for stricter discipline. The political situation in Hungary also continues to be a point of tension within the EU. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has maintained a confrontational stance toward Brussels, particularly on issues related to rule of law, media freedom, and judicial independence. The EU has responded by withholding certain funds, leading to an ongoing standoff that highlights the challenge of enforcing common values within a diverse union. Meanwhile, enlargement is back on the agenda, with renewed discussions about bringing in countries from the Western Balkans and potentially beyond. While there is strategic interest in expanding the Union's influence, there is also hesitation among current members about the political and economic implications. Integrating new countries would require significant reforms to EU institutions and decision-making processes, something that is already a sensitive topic. Another important development is the growing role of technology and digital regulation in EU politics. The bloc has positioned itself as a global leader in setting standards for tech companies with laws targeting data privacy, competition, and online content. These efforts are shaping the global digital landscape, but are also raising questions about innovation and economic competitiveness within Europe itself. Public opinion across the EU is becoming more polarized, and trust in institutions varies widely between countries. Younger voters, in particular, are showing different priorities compared to older generations, with stronger emphasis on climate action, social justice, and digital freedoms. This generational divide is influencing political strategies and shaping the future direction of European politics. Looking ahead, the EU faces a critical period where it must navigate internal divisions while responding to external pressures. The ability to maintain unity will be tested by upcoming elections, ongoing geopolitical tensions, and the need for economic resilience. Leaders will have to make difficult choices, often balancing short-term political survival with long-term strategic goals. What's clear is that EU politics is no longer operating in a predictable, stable framework. The traditional balance between integration and national sovereignty is being redefined in real time. Decisions made now will likely shape the trajectory of the Union for years to come, influencing everything from global trade to security alliances. In this environment, adaptability is becoming just as important as ideology. Political actors who can respond to changing realities without losing credibility are more likely to succeed. At the same time, the EU's institutional structure will need to evolve if it is to remain effective in a more fragmented and competitive world. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether the EU can maintain its cohesion or whether internal divisions will deepen further. Either way, the stakes are high, not just for Europe, but for the broader international order in which the EU plays a significant role. In this environment, adaptability is becoming just as important as ideology. Political actors who can respond to changing realities without losing credibility are more likely to succeed. At the same time, the EU's institutional structure will need to evolve if it is to remain effective in a more fragmented and competitive world. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether the EU can maintain its cohesion, or whether internal divisions will deepen further. Either way, the stakes are high, not just for Europe, but for the broader international order in which the EU plays a significant role.